Sri Shivananda is PayPal's SVP and CTO, which is a long way away from his original dream of being a pilot in the Indian Air Force. But being the SVP and CTO of a payment company that in 2018 did $578 billion in total payment volume and 9.9 billion transactions in 200 different markets in about 100 different currencies is still a pretty big deal. On this episode of IT Visionaries, Sri takes us through his journey and explains all the ways that PayPal has made an impact on the way people make payments in the digital age. Enjoy this episode. IT Visionaries is created by the team at mission.org and brought to you by the Salesforce Customer 360 platform, the #1 cloud platform for digital transformation of every experience. Build connected experience, empower every employee, and deliver continuous innovation with the customer at the center of everything you do. Learn more at salesforce.com/platform.
Welcome to another episode of IT Visionaries. I'm Ian Faison, Chief Content Officer here at mission.org, and we are on location, PayPal HQ here in sunny San Jose. Sri, what's going on?
There's a lot going on. Exciting things happening in technology all the time. Exciting things happening in payments all around the world. And it's a great time to be in this space.
Turns out money plus email, there's something there. I'm so excited to talk about PayPal. I've been a longtime fan, huge fan of how you made the complex so simple and safe and secure. So we're going to get into a lot of PayPal stuff, a lot of your background. But first, how did you get into technology in the first place?
When I was a teenager, I actually wanted to be a pilot in the Indian Air Force. Tried 3 times and that didn't work out.
Why didn't you make it?
I didn't make it because I didn't get through the physical tests in most cases. I would get through the aptitude test, but didn't ever make it past the mandatory physical test. But 1 year after most of my friends went to college, I actually started engineering school. I went to school to do mechanical engineering. But in the first year of engineering school, I had the opportunity to make a choice between either buying a motorcycle or a computer. And I made the choice to buy a computer, primarily because 1 hour of computer giving away at that time would actually get me a whole day of motorcycle, because most people didn't have a computer at that time. That's how I first got involved with computing. And I wrote a lot of software that didn't keep my curiosity fully quenched. So I went in and I started to open up the hardware and look at hardware too. But that's how I first got started in computing.
So for those folks who don't know, what goes into the role of CTO at PayPal? What's the scope of your responsibilities?
I have 2 roles at the company. On the one hand, I'm the Chief Technology Officer. And as a part of that, it's to ensure that we have a cohesive technology strategy across the company. The choices that we are making in both modernizing and scaling and securing PayPal to the extent we need to are done in a way that it's a strategic choice, it's a deliberate direction, and it's consistent across the whole company. At the same time, I also run information security, infrastructure, internal IT, developer experiences, and core platforms. Think of this as all things that are foundational for the technology stack on which you build all the experiences for our customers. And those are the 2 main roles that I play at PayPal.
So you kind of manage the employee experience for the tech stack, internally, and then also, externally for the product for customers?
Yes. So the 80% of my job, I would say, is about serving the external customer and making sure that we are getting the right features in front of them in a way that is safe, secure, reliable, up all the time. And at the same time, the employee constituency in the company and making sure that they're productive as they do their jobs, whether that is an engineer on a product development team or a person in sales.
And then what is kind of the scope of PayPal now? I know the company's in a lot of different things, and I'm curious, what's the state of affairs here?
To give you an idea, PayPal has continued to grow. It started off by, and many of you may know this, but beaming money to each other or Palm Pilot is where PayPal first started. Yeah. And then it became a way of sending money over email. And eventually it became extremely popular on eBay as a way for consumers to pay merchants. eBay acquired the company in 2015. PayPal got split out from eBay and became an independent company again. But in the process, we've acquired many different companies as well. If you look at it today from a scale perspective, in 2018, we closed the year with about $578 billion in total payment volume.
Wow.
And it was about 9.9 billion transactions, 200 different markets around the world, about 100 different currencies. And we're not only in person-to-person payments, but we are in checkout, we are in invoicing, we are in remittances, and we want to be relevant in payments no matter where there's a need from a consumer or a merchant.
Well, I can tell you there was a need here at mission.org because we recently became a PayPal customer on the lending product. And it has been a fantastic, full disclosure here. I mean, it was just an awesome experience. And, lending is brutal, and it was just it's been phenomenal. So our COO Stephanie is tip of the cap from her because it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you brought up, and I didn't even mention that we have a credit portfolio, and as a part of that credit portfolio, we have small business lending, which we know helps our customers a lot in growing their businesses from where they are.
Well, it definitely helped us. I want to get into the Geek Squad. Can you tell me who this is?
Well, the Geek Squad, of course, I mean, I'm the chief geek, and I have a large organization here. And what we do is we ensure that the key things that we need to deliver for our customers that are not features are done in a great way. So at PayPal, given that we are in the business of trust, security is the number one concern.
Yeah.
So we invest a lot in information security, not only in things that we need to do defensively to protect ourselves and our customers from cyber attacks, but also in designing both our infrastructure and software in a way that every transaction is safe and secure. Second is our merchants rely on us being up all the time. They want us to take every single transaction on their behalf that we can. So being reliable and up 24/7, 365 is a critical need. We continue to modernize our infrastructure on a very regular basis. Every single year, we take on an area and we modernize that. And last but not the least, we want the product development engineers in the company to be more of an artist than a mechanic, in them going fast and building amazing, delightful experiences for our external customers. So all this, and then within, you can encapsulate that in the efficiency play and making sure that as we deliver technology, we do it in a way that it's cost efficient and we can give the best value out to our merchants as well.
I want to go in the Wayback Machine here, back to 2002, when a young Shri first heard about PayPal. What was that like? What was it like joining the team?
So 2002 is when I actually joined the eBay side of the company. Yeah. And I actually started off as an engineer at eBay. I did a lot of log analysis work. I got very interested in data, then moved into the data operations side, went back into software engineering. And over time, I took on various different roles. Those were the days where eBay was beginning to scale. And I worked on a lot of projects to scale eBay at that point. And PayPal was acquired by eBay, and I actually spent a little bit of time with PayPal at that time. But my real work with PayPal started in the 2013 timeframe. And then I was responsible for the split of eBay and PayPal from a technology and infrastructure perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a massive project. I mean, it was amazing what we had to accomplish within a period of 9 months.
It was super fast, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And then as an independent company starting 2015, I've been an employee of PayPal. So,
rising up the ranks, being at eBay, which also headquartered in San Jose, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it has the huge, the auditorium. It's like this amazing auditorium. I've been there. Anyways, rising up the ranks at eBay and then taking on this challenge. What was exciting to you about, PayPal spinning out and joining kind of the future of payments?
So I'd been on the e-commerce side for about 15 years, and I wanted to get on the payment side and learn way more about the payments infrastructure and how payments works across the globe. What compelled me most was the purpose of the company. What we wanted to do was democratize financial services all around the world. We wanted to make it easy for anyone to manage and move money. And we know that there are 1.8 billion people in the world who don't have access to those kinds of capabilities. Dan Schulman, who's our CEO, often talks about how it's actually expensive to be poor.
Yeah.
And what we want to be able to do is create great capabilities through innovation where we create a more inclusive payments platform where everyone can participate. That purpose was the most compelling thing. And of course, as a geek, I was also interested in how do you go serve a market of hundreds of millions of customers in hundreds of currencies and hundreds of countries and so on. And how do you build it in a way that it is safe, every transaction is secure, and then we serve our merchants in a way that they get to take every single transaction. You might have heard that our conversion rates are in the 89%.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And compared to the competition, we are at least 2x more. Our nearest competitors are in the 40-ish percentage.
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
And that's a huge leg up we have.
Growing up in India and, the idea of sending money potentially back home or, sharing money with other people. Was this something that was like a challenge growing up? Like, did this kind of strike a chord when you started to dive into PayPal back when you're working through the 9-month tech split there?
No. So look, I think I moved to the US in the 1996 timeframe. And in the early years, I'd have to go to the bank and figure out a wiring instruction that would probably take 72 hours for money that I would send back home to get home. And of course, with the acquisition of Zoom, we now have a capability where I can send money to my parents or my in-laws in pretty much a matter of what seems like less than 30 minutes.
That's amazing.
And it goes straight to their bank, which means they can use a debit card to use that money right away. And that's very exciting that those of us that have moved far from home have the ability to help our families back home through capabilities of that nature.
I want to take a step back and look at kind of the future of payments. We've seen digitization kind of take over payments. But what is next? Like, what is kind of like the next thing on the horizon? I know you can't share all the details here, but what are some of the things you're excited about?
So, I'll actually step back and maybe do a quick pass on the history of money itself. For the longest time, it was all about currencies and coins. And starting in the 1950s, the cards first got introduced. And in the late 90s-ish, e-commerce actually started off in a big way. And then in the 2000s, it was the beginning of mobile as a medium of payment. And more of the transactions have been moving online and mobile. That said, there is still a lot of cash at play all around the world. Digitization has started and it's accelerating, but it is probably still, there's at least a couple of decades before we say we've hit a threshold in digitization. What I'm excited about is the experiences that you're beginning to see. The ability for someone to send money to somebody else has become so easy now. Or for that matter, to go online and be able to check out across tens of millions of merchants, that's become extremely convenient. Or sending money back home like we talked about, or creating an invoice for a service that you provided and getting paid for it. All of these things have become much more safer, easier, and convenient all across the globe. And what I now notice is how, first of all, in e-commerce, if you look, it brought about a revolution where there was a time pre-90s when you would go to a shop. And with e-commerce happening, shops started to actually come to you.
Yeah.
You now shop where you are, and you can shop for anything around the world. The world is one large, unlimited shelf of goods that you can buy from. To all the way up to, you can now conduct commerce through devices in your surroundings. You may have a voice agent at home that you could use to add something into a shopping cart or purchase. And finally, something as convenient as you don't even realize you made a payment and it actually happened. You probably have taken a ride share like a Uber or a Lyft.
Oh, yeah.
When do you pay?
What, you mean once the ride's completed or?
Yeah. Do you actively pay?
Oh, no. Yeah. It's just
Exactly.
automatic. Yeah.
So what's happening with payment experiences is it's somewhat becoming ambient. You express the intent to take a ride or order some food, and payment just happens. It's no longer that frictionful activity that you did at a store at the end where you had to check out everything and pay. So a lot happening from an experience perspective, a lot happening from a speed perspective, a lot happening from a security perspective. And collectively, that's just exciting. It's also becoming easier for all kinds of people from various parts of the world, various segments, and various demographics to participate in that economy where they can move and manage their money faster.
There's a little mission trivia here. I'm looking at our team. Did you know that the first paycheck paid to me for Mission was via PayPal? Wow. Actually, like my first 6 paychecks were via PayPal. They were not big, and it will always hold a place in my heart. And it kind of is one of those I was thinking about it before the interview, like one of those little experiences that happen where at that time, we're a super small company. We just needed to figure out how can I pay my rent in the easiest way possible? We'll figure out tax implications later. And then we, figured out and became a real company. But it's just those are the type of experience that happen on the fringe where it's I need the money right now. And those sort of opportunities, like you said, the 1.8 billion people that need those type of things. My question is, how do their technologies come into play in that? Whether you're on, an iPhone, a tablet, a desktop here in the US, whatever. But for, we have listeners in over 130 countries. If you don't have one of those technologies, if you only have access to, X, Y, or Z, you don't have internet, how do you look at, creating solutions for those type of people?
If you look at our remittance service, which is Zoom, what we actually do is allow the sender to use any method of sending. In fact, many of these folks, before those services became available, would actually have to travel, probably skip their work, go to a store that would send money to their country, stand in line for a while, probably pay very heavy fees, and eventually the money is on its way, right? Today, you can do that on a mobile device. You can do it on a website as a sender. But on the other side, there is something that is as convenient as you receive it in your bank account. But there are also places in the world where we'll actually deliver the money home. And in many cases, that is the mode that's applicable and relevant and preferable. The bottom line is connecting these people in this transaction. And whether that is digitally through a direct deposit or a transfer through a person handing that money by hand at the destination, all of those are things that we need to cater to and make sure that we deliver to what the customer needs. We can't do this only on our terms. We need to do this on the terms of what our customers need in the markets they're in with the facilities that they can avail.
It's crazy how friction-free, peer-to-peer payments are now. I mean, it's remarkable, right? It's
Absolutely.
And I just got hit with some ridiculous wire fees the other day, $25 wires fee. Come on, give me a break. And I was just thinking, I was all of these sort of things are going to be gone in the future. How much banks try to hold your money for as long as possible to limit that sort of stuff. Looking into the crystal ball, how does money continue to evolve and payments continue to evolve?
So one, at some point in time, the physical form of money will start to diminish or disappear. and money will go entirely digital, not just the transaction that you do, whether it is in-store through your mobile phone or, for that matter, even bridge technologies that I like card and so on. But eventually, money will become digital. The mode of transfer will continue to become even more digital. While we've seen the beginnings of these digital currencies, I think we'll see it evolve even further and become mainstream at some point in time. What you need to keep in mind is the act of moving money or paying for something is just going to not be a big concern.
Yeah,
it just becomes safe, secure, and convenient, no matter what kind of transaction you want to have, and no matter where you want to have the transaction between people across the globe. That just becomes super easy. It already is in many cases, but that'll continue to grow as well.
And then what about, cryptocurrencies? How does that play into all of this?
So cryptocurrencies in the form they are available in today have become a little more of an asset than a currency.
Yeah.
So I think in many cases people buy and hold it for appreciation of value.
Yeah.
The day-to-day volatility of the currency has not made it very conducive for commerce yet. And merchants who operate on very thin margins don't feel like they can accept cryptocurrencies and still do a viable business. But at some point in time, we've seen the start and emergence of stable coins and things of that nature. I think grounded on the learnings that we have from cryptocurrencies so far, there'll be an eventual design of a digital currency that is, in many cases, issued by currency authorities that provide those currencies today, properly regulated. But think of it as a way where you're not dealing with physical money anymore. The issue itself is digital, the transfer is digital, the storage is digital, and therefore the convenience and most importantly, the cost of it will start to drop to a point where suddenly that large population of people that we talked about can easily participate in the economy as well.
I want to talk about kind of like the IT side of the house. You said it's about 20% of your time. We talk a lot on this show about like keep the lights on operations, about like the end of kind of like the ticket taking mentality and into the innovation side of things. As IT leaders, roles are changing, and what CIO, CTO, CDO, whatever it is. What do you kind of see as like the role of IT in today's companies?
In terms of the internal IT itself, there are two distinct aspects to it. One is all the corporate platforms that you have, whether it is for human resources, legal, your financial back office, and so on. And those platforms have to be built in a way that whether it is your HR practitioner, an employee, or for that matter, a salesperson, can do what they do daily extremely easily. And so that they can be productive and they can focus on the value creation, not in wrestling with the systems that they're dealing with. This is why, I would say the internal IT portfolio has moved more in the direction of design thinking and experience design, not just the underlying nuts and bolts of how to offer those systems. Which brings me to the employee experience itself.
Yeah.
Most of us are beginning to focus on the employee experience, and the intent there is to delight our employees in their engagement with the company. Productive employees are more engaged employees are more inspired employees innovate more. And that is something that we absolutely want at the company. We want inspired employees who are innovating on behalf of our customer and delivering great value to those customers.
And how do you do innovation? What are some of the areas that you're doing that here internally?
We look at innovation in three buckets, and this is a standard industry methodology. But there is innovation that happens in people's jobs day to day, which we call Horizon 1 innovation. And then there is the what we call the medium-term innovation, the 1 to 3 year time frame, where you're looking at the things that you need to deliver over the 3 year time frame, and what capabilities you need to create, what experiences you need to build, what designs you need to undertake to help achieve that. And then that's what we call Horizon 2. And the Horizon 3 innovation is post 3 year time frame. Many of these are just seeds you're laying. You're not exactly sure where it's going to go, but you make many of those small investments. You start to build a proof of concept or pilots. You test ideas, and some of those ideas then take off, become big, and then can lead to new lines of businesses for the company as well. So that's the way we think of innovation. There's a very large innovation practice at the company. We have innovation labs in San Jose, in Singapore, and in India. And through those innovation labs, we actually interface with the external community as well, both academia and companies, startups. We have an innovation portal internally where people submit ideas, and those ideas get voted on. And then we pursue some of those ideas for execution too. And in many cases, we also do this through our venture arm, where we invest in some early startups which are pursuing certain kinds of things across a broad spectrum of things, financial services and financial tech, of course, but also in some areas of technology that we find could be great for the future.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, PayPal has been pretty forward on acquisitions of companies that are, core that you making a bet on those folks. How does that play into, you talked about initially when you were involved in PayPal splitting from eBay. How do you kind of look at that now as CTO? How do you look at acquisitions?
Acquisitions are a very important part of our growth strategy. We as technologists get involved very early in the acquisition cycle when the hypothesis and the business case is built. Then we get involved in the due diligence to ensure that the company that we are bringing in has great sound assets that will sustain the long term and create the value for the customer that we desire. And then we, of course, go into the integration phase. When they come in, we have to figure out how those capabilities will integrate with what we already have, not just within the core business, but across the other business units that we've acquired over time as well. And in doing so, looking at the best of breed across all of the business units and acquisitions we have made, and creating a sum of all parts that's better than any one of the capabilities that we have. So M&A is a very critical cycle, and we often have not just a great customer base we bring in with an acquisition or a capability that we bring in with the acquisition, but we bring in great employees and great talent who then collaborate with the rest of the ecosystem and create even better ideas going forward.
You're probably one of the foremost people that has actually spun off a company with a technology like that. Were there any lessons or stories or anecdotes that kind of stick with you from that time that you kind of carried with you to the rest of your career?
Look, I actually came into the eBay PayPal family through an acquisition that was made at that time. So I know what it means to come from an acquisition. But when you come on board into the company, there is just this amazing range of capabilities and the scale that you notice. We've had through the acquisition of Simility some amazing risk capabilities that's available as a service that we can offer. In the past, we thought of risk services as something that's behind a payment to secure the payment. And what we are seeing in the market is risk services can stand independently and be an offering of their own. And we've made various other acquisitions over time. I think what the Braintree acquisition gave us is the ability to interface with developers as a segment and serving them through great platforms that we build. And then last but not the least, about our acquisition of, with Braintree came Venmo. And Venmo brought in a completely different angle of what social P2P meant. And that social P2P has created a a completely different level of engagement with our product than we saw previously.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the Venmo acquisition because it is one of the funny things that I think, if you were to go back 20 years and say, that people were able to like seamlessly pay other people money, you'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. Like you should be able to do that. You're like, but also they get to write notes to each other that are publicly seen by other people and that everybody loves this. Like I feel like that little wrinkle was so critical to the success of Venmo. And I feel like, from my perspective, like, there's no slowing down. Like this is something that people feel very attached to, right? I'm just curious, like, was that something that felt weird on the outset? Was it something that you saw that you were kind of tickled by as well?
Having been a customer champion company, one of the things that we have realized is it's important to not go into any product design with our own biases. It's best to actually have a open mind and just listen very carefully to your customers, because they will tell you exactly what they need or want if you listen properly. They may not articulate it in the exact words, but the meaning will come across. And knowing that, when I look at Venmo, what we found is there is a segment of customers who want to engage in a social conversation through a payment. And of course, every customer on the Venmo platform has the ability to either like share that publicly or share that privately or not share it at all. They still have the choice, but they want to engage in that conversation. And it's been a very vibrant platform with great engagement, great conversations. And of course, payments is what it does.
I'm always private, but it's fun to send one of my friends, we were watching, or we went out to dinner and he was like nudging me. He's like, check your Venmo. It's like stuff like that. It's a conversation starter.
I do that with my daughter all the time. If she has not called me for a week, I will actually send a money request saying, you've not called me.
This is
Here's
actually
minus $2.
I do the same thing to, I did this, to my girlfriend because she didn't respond to my text. And so I Venmo'd her, like $1 and I was like, I love you. And she's like, why are you sending me money? No, but I think that like, again, this is like, I know it might seem, especially to the listener, like that this stuff is a little trivial, but like the proof is in how many people use the platform.
Exactly.
And how many people engage with it. Actually, we talked to, do you know Japjit?
Japjit, yeah.
Yeah, he was at eBay. He was telling us the story about that when they created, what is it? I think it was like one of their bots. They created a bot basically. And one of the big learnings was that people loved communicating with the bot in emojis. That like over and over and over again, people knew it was a bot and they would continue to communicate via emojis to the bot. And it was like, who could have kind of predicted that?
Yeah, bots are a very important part of the technology capabilities that a company needs to build. We have started to leverage chat bots in our customer service, and we are seeing some amazing interaction, engagement, and success there.
So final Venmo question. You decided to keep it like standalone. I'm curious, like, was that just like the power of the brand or like the power of the platform, or just like kind of no need to, disrupt it for no reason? Or I'm just curious.
It's been our integration philosophy for a long time that what we want to do is we want to keep the identity of the company that we acquire, and we want to continue to maintain the purpose for which they first started. And that gives those acquisitions the ability to continue the journey that they had started. And in many cases, given the strengths that we bring to the table, probably even accelerate it. If you end up focusing too much on integration too early, you may actually never achieve the value for which you acquired the company in the first place. Now, at the same time, what we do in the back end is to make sure that we create synergies for the underlying capabilities, whether it is infrastructure or identity or payments capabilities and so on. That's where we'll go with the integration. But the experience itself and the brand's relationship with their customer, that we want to sustain and continue even after we make the acquisition.
Back to the Geek Squad for a little bit. You host your own show internally here. And I thought this was really cool. And it's something that we've heard from a few leaders that they do something similar. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we do a couple of things. One is a podcast called Geek Speak, which we do once a month. And I have 5 segments on what is a 1-hour call. The first segment is a strategy session with our chief architect, who may come and talk about like the drone formation at the Olympics or quantum computing or something of that nature. Then we'll bring in what we call a geek spotlight. This is an engineer that we pick who is making a difference in ways beyond what their day-to-day job is. They built an amazing productivity tool that everybody else is using, or they innovated in a certain way that we want them to show off. Then we bring in 2 business leaders each time. And we have a conversation about their business area. And we end the show with a book that I normally announce I'm giving away 20 copies for. So that's what Geek Speak looks like. It happens every single month. It's all internal audience, of course. The second thing we do is a video show called Tech Matters, which is an episode that eventually compresses down to about 6 to 7 minutes. And it's a technology topic. And the intent there is to make sure that across the company of more than 20,000 employees, there is an understanding of what's going on in technology, how we are addressing it, why it's important to address, and to make sure that everyone has some relevance with what's going on in tech.
Oh, that's good. So then that's company-wide. Oh, that's
Both of these are open to the full company audience. On Geek Speak, it's mostly geeks who listen to it. But on Tech Matters, we actually put it on our internet, and it's available to every employee.
When you are mentoring, teaching Geek Squad, we talked before the episode that we could probably do an entire episode just on this. But what are some of the pieces of advice that you give to young engineers that want to be a CTO someday?
Well, I mean, there are many different things, right? One is I start with the foundation of the ingredients that I've seen contribute to what most successful people have achieved. And I put it in 3 areas. I call it IQ, EQ, and CQ. IQ is the intelligence quotient. EQ is emotional quotient, and their people's ability to work with other people and teams and so on. And CQ, which is in my mind the force multiplier, is the curiosity quotient. And being always curious about everything, whether it is technology or working with somebody else or being on a team or doing a transformation, that curiosity compels you to learn more and more and build yourself and cultivate those capabilities as you go forward. Of course, the outside of these 3, the most important thing in my mind is grit. Yeah. There are times when things will not go your way. Your ability to get up and continue to go and keep moving forward and learn from that experience is very important too. So that's the foundation that I start most people off with early. But I do talk about the concept of micro ambitions, which is figuring out that one step at a time, not mark a destination that you want to go to and try to figure out how you chart a path to it, but always figure out that next one step that you want to achieve.
What's one of the moments in your career that you've had to rely on some of that grit, that you've had to persevere through something tough?
I would say it happens every 3 years or so. I've had many such situations where things were not necessarily going the way I expected. And I either needed the guidance of a mentor at that point in time or somebody to just nudge me in the right direction and to recultivate the confidence that I needed to move forward. But each time I did that, I would say what I learned from it is the ability to look back and go, oh, you know what? I've been in a situation like this before. I've been able to get through it, and I'll be able to do it this time too. I strongly believe that if you set your mind to something, the whole world is going to conspire with you to get you there. And if you treat people right, that is doubly so. That's generally how I've built my career.
And you are hiring. I should add that. So if you want to join the Geek Squad, we'll link it up in the show notes because it seems like it's a good time to be on the Geek Squad. Before we get in the lightning round, I do want to talk a little bit on AI, ML, automation, maybe a little RPA. I'm curious, like how does automation fit into the work that you're doing at PayPal?
So I'll give you a few examples to illustrate these things. There's a lot happening in technology, right? But particularly on the topic of automation, what we've done over the years is down in our infrastructure, we've gone from what used to be a manually managed fleet to an automated fleet. But what we found with our scale is even automation was not enough. So we are now moving from an automated fleet to what we call an autonomous fleet. And an autonomous fleet is think self-driving car, except this is your infrastructure that is driving itself. And that happens on the foundation of capabilities like ML and AI. You gather all the signals, every server is telling you something, every application is telling you something. And using those signals, you can help make sure that the underlying infrastructure is healthy and is remediating itself. And then the application of AI and ML goes much further. Whether it is in customer support use cases and risk and fraud use cases. There are a lot of different areas. Actually, even in sales lead kind of use cases, there's a lot of ML and AI that we begin to apply. And then finally, what was the third thing?
AI, ML, and automation. And then RPA.
When we look at workflows within the company, there is a lot of opportunity to take the repetitive and redundant work and to ensure that is taken care of by an underlying system.
Yeah.
In many cases, we've actually built helper bots, whether it is for engineers or for customer support agents, or for that matter, people in other functions as well. We build certain bots that take away the repetitive and redundant work and then allow them to focus on where they can create the best value, not worrying about just a rote repetition.
And how much does private versus public cloud kind of play into that and your capacity to do those things?
We've been on a private cloud setup for many years now. We are starting our journey and migration to the public cloud. Our development and test infrastructure is already in the public cloud and has been for about 2 years, and that accounts for about 15% of our infrastructure. We are now beginning to put a fair number of production or customer workloads in the public cloud as well. The way I see it in the journey, we will probably be a hybrid multi-cloud environment, as in we'll always have certain things on premises. A lot of things will be in the public cloud, and even in the public cloud, it'll probably be across multiple public clouds.
It seems like a lot of, companies of your size are kind of talking that way. Do you kind of think that that's the new normal, is kind of that approach of hybrid cloud with multiple public clouds?
One, public cloud is no longer an if question at all.
Yeah.
It's now a 12-year-old industry. And if any one of us were to start a company today, you'd start natively on the public cloud. And by the way, when we make acquisitions, the incoming acquisitions, many of them are natively on the public cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I think hybrid multi-cloud is probably the pragmatic approach to take when you think cloud. There will be certain aspects that you may be more efficient in doing on-prem all the time. At the same time, you want to tap into the agility and the economics of what a public cloud provides, so you'll do it there too. And as you start to deploy across multiple geographies and jurisdictions, the same cloud provider may not be available in all those locations. So you will have to work with multiple cloud providers.
Okay, last question before the lightning round. You operate in a ton of different countries, areas, demographics. What are the challenges that you go through working in that environment?
I think the first thing I would say is building a global platform that caters to the number of countries and currencies we are in takes a lot of forethought from an architecture perspective. The blueprint that we built was one where the underlying capabilities that required in each market were configurable, and you didn't have to write new code to do that. And that global platform is a competitive asset that we believe we have. At the same time, operating in different market means being subject to the laws and the governance that comes in each one of those markets.
Yeah.
So we also built that in a platform-centric approach. This is what you probably begin to hear in the industry as RegTech or regulatory technology.
Yeah.
And it's a compliance platform where we can feed it the obligations we have in each one of these markets, and we can configure it in a way that every transaction we take on the platform, even if it is cross-border, is compliant with those obligations, and we're doing it in a way that's right and in the bounds of what's expected from us. Last but not the least, serving the globe also means being global as a company.
Yeah.
In terms of our footprint and our employees and so on. So across all of those offices, having a way for, one, hiring and retaining great talent, allowing all of them to be productive, and working not only towards the specific market they're in, but serving a global market no matter where they are, and collaborating with each other. That adds to the third challenge and opportunity as well.
Especially, with technology products where people are working, obviously, 24 hours around the clock. The sun never sets on PayPal. It's got to create some leadership challenges for your team as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and what we do on that front is make sure that the way we organize is where each region has autonomy in what they're doing. And not everyone needs to get on a conversation with everybody else around the world to accomplish something at the company.
Yeah.
And then having the right kind of collaboration capabilities, but at the same time, the mindfulness around understanding who's operating in what time zone and being respectful of how to set up a conversation with the other individual if you have to, and using technology to do that, whether it is video conferencing or whatever it may be. All of that helps in allowing everyone everywhere to thrive.
It reminded me of, PayPal has such a cool lore here in Silicon Valley with PayPal Mafia and obviously Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Max Levchin and all those folks. Do you kind of feel like there's some sense of this lore or this history of connecting kind of Silicon Valley to the rest of the world and also vice versa of connecting the rest of the world to Silicon Valley?
Look, I think when you look at PayPal and many other companies, the innovation first started in the Valley, but that innovation was powerful enough for many of us to realize that it is applicable to the whole world.
Yeah.
Everyone across the globe can leverage this innovation, use this to make what they do every day easier, to connect more people around the world through commerce and through payments and so on. What we need to make sure, though, is if you think only the bubble of the Valley and innovate for the Valley, 200 miles out, it's no longer relevant.
Yeah.
So you need to take into consideration, being a customer champion company, you need to make sure you're out in the field, you're out in the markets, you're meeting merchants, you're meeting consumers, you're understanding what they need, and you're building for all of them, not just the Valley. So Valley gives access to great innovation, great talent, but then we have expanded and now we are a global company where we have talent all across the globe. And that has given us what I would call the diversity of creative thought that has now allowed us to serve the whole globe everywhere.
Let's get into the lightning round. These questions are fast and easy, just like the Salesforce platform. You can go to salesforce.com/build mobile apps to learn about building apps fast and easy on the Salesforce platform. We love Salesforce platform. And you will too. Check them out. Fast and easy questions. Sri, are you ready?
I am.
Number 1, what app are you using on your phone that is the most fun?
Audible.
What book or podcast? Well, you read a ton of books, but what's one of your favorites, book or podcast that you've read or listened to recently?
Time, Talent, and Energy. That's a book I read recently, which helped me a lot in terms of thinking about how to create a great team that's productive and thriving together.
What do you do for fun?
I love quiet time. I'm an introvert, and if you were to leave me alone, that's the best thing I can think of. But long walks with my wife, going hiking or something of that nature. Great food always is awesome.
Favorite thing to cook or eat?
Favorite thing to eat? I can eat any cuisine, but I love Indian food.
Me too. It's just so good. What is your best advice for a first-time CTO?
In terms of advice to a CTO, I would say it's always important to connect before you lead. Learn as much as you can by just connecting with everybody in the organization. Also connect externally with the other peers in the industry. Connect with academia where you can. Connect with the vendor ecosystem as well. But create a 360 degree of connecting and learning. And through that, take the problem statement that you're very clear about and but bring the whole world around to help you solve for that problem statement.
What technology are you most excited about going forward?
Actually, a couple of technologies that I'm pretty excited about that we are beginning to launch. One is the intersection of containerization and clustering, and what that offers in terms of creating that autonomous dynamic fleet that I was talking about. Second one is the intersection of machine learning and cybersecurity, and how we can now, through the right kind of investments, understand those unknown unknowns in cybersecurity that we can address proactively versus having to react to it when something happens.
Sri, that's it. That's all we got.
Great.
Thanks
awesome.
so much.
It was very nice talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Any final stuff to plug? Definitely open Rex at PayPal if you're looking to join the Geek Squad.
Absolutely. Like, PayPal is always looking for great talent around the world, and we are operating on a purpose here. And if you want to make a difference in the world, you definitely want to be at PayPal.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. And now here is Dragana from the Salesforce platform team with our Trailblazer Tuesday segment.
Hi everyone, Dragana checking in for another Trailblazer Tuesday segment. Today we have Ines Garcia with us to share some great things that she's been working on.
Hi everyone.
Hey Ines, super pumped to have you on, and I'd love for you to share with us a bit about what you do and especially all the cool things you're partnering with Hive on.
Agile coach and a Salesforce MVP, and what that means together is I help companies to become more agile whilst delivering Salesforce technology. So I've been doing some work with Hive for the last couple of years, and I work in the customer platforms team there. And that's all about customers. So we have Salesforce is our customer master, like record place where all the different systems will integrate. Salesforce helps us from like acquiring, just to tell you a little bit of the story of a customer, from like, generating that brand to going through the funnel of somebody becoming a customer. And that may be through different channel partners, so direct through the website, which some of it sits in Heroku, for example. And then, so when somebody wants to activate a product, we take them through an onboarding journey so that we can collect all our customers' information in one place. And then when that happens, we'll give them entitlements to our IoT platform. We call it Honeycomb, just to go with a Hive theme. And then through that, will trigger the fulfillment of that product, the billing, and all these sort of things, and then in support in live through Marketing Cloud and communities, for example, Service Cloud, definitely. So earlier this year, one of the things that I wanted to accomplish was to kind of elevate some very repetitive, systematic things that happens in service. So we had, at the earlier of this year, we had the idea to have a proof of concept where chatbots could help us to do exactly that. So how we could find some very systematic things that the agents will go through day in and day out, and we could elevate and alleviate it with bots. So I am very happy to showcase this specifically because the team not only did in the first quarter of this year that proof of concept, but actually by the end of it, we had 3 bots live and running, which is, to me, is a big success. And you definitely need to partner with good technology to help you to get to market faster. And I think the other important thing was to decide which kind of use cases we'll be using, because we all have tons of different ideas. So there were many, many ideas on the table as a use case that we could do. So the 3 bots, if you're interested to know the story of the 3 bots that we have live, they were, so the first one we went live was the delivery kind of bot. So very light kind of authentication that will check with the customer. They just want to know when the delivery is coming. So ask few questions, fetch the information in Salesforce, surface it to the customer. And then, do you need more information? Yes, no. And then you can always hand it to an agent. And just with that one, is almost 50% of every time a customer reach for delivery related items, it's just handled by the bot. Then another quite similar one is about the appointments. So some of the Hive products requires an installation. So we don't provide any personal information, but we can ask few questions and then we can surface when is that appointment happening. And again, always it's good to enable an agent or a customer to ask for further help to an agent. And with this one, I think it's around 40% of the related queries are handled by the bot. And then the last use case we went live with was about some troubleshooting. So for one of the products that we get most of the inquiries, so we released all of that in January.
That's super cool. And so that's amazing. So 50% almost of all like delivery inquiries, like delivery times, which is such a common question, are now handled by a bot. And you said appointment and the troubleshooting bot, those are about almost 40% of all things you said that are handled, which is super cool to hear. And not only are you really speeding it up for the customer, but you're also alleviating it for like the employees, because I can just imagine how much more time they now have to focus on the more difficult cases or installation inquiries that they have. Super cool. So what's next here? What do you guys plan to do now? Like, are you planning to take this beyond the proof of concept? Is it all fully live now? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, so this 3 are live, and basically what we did since Q1 has been hardening the spots, right? Because it's all about finding out the ideas for any business that works. So with that, what I'm trying to say, we all have ideas. We all want different bets, I guess, to call it, into the market. But what is the bare minimum that you need to prove that idea or that bet actually is doing what you expect? So you can minimize waste if that idea actually is not performing as you may want, or get the most out of it is actually something working really well. So that's where we have concentrated the most. I think coming up in the pipeline for next year will be a couple more troubleshooting kind of bots for other products, because it seems to work quite well. And then we're doing a similar application for your online experience. So it's not only on chat, but maybe you will be on on the desktop in your login account section. So you could be doing some similar sort of like flow kind of thing where we take the customer through a series of steps.
Oh, that's super awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear much more about that. Who knows, maybe we have a chance to have you on for a full episode so you can share all of this amazing goodness with us down the line. But before we let you go, there's a question we ask of every single person that comes on IT Visionaries. And that is, as you being a trailblazer and like you said, a Salesforce MVP, what is one piece of either career advice or implementation advice, anything that you live by that you can pass on to future trailblazers and other IT leaders?
I think would be concentrating what you want. And with that, I mean that the world is very broad. There is just so much going on. And even in the amount of innovation that Salesforce is giving us every single release is huge. So I do quite a bit of work with like mentees trying to get into this ecosystem. And one of the things that I always say is like, what makes you up in the morning every day? Do what you want. Like if it's, related with some kind of work in the background that you had, or some specific things that interest you, like marketing related stuff, just focus on what you want. There is just so much. So yeah, not even the sky is the limit, I guess.
I love that. It's like, let your passion drive your next career choice and take you to the next level. Ines, thank you so much once again for joining us all the way from overseas. It's a beautiful morning here in San Francisco, and I wish you a pleasant afternoon.
IT Visionaries is created by the team at mission.org and brought to you by the Salesforce Customer 360 platform, the #1 cloud platform for digital transformation of every experience. Build connected experience, empower every employee, and deliver continuous innovation with the customer at the center of everything you do. Learn more at salesforce.com/platform.